Hi, my name is Lauren Crossman-Nanoff, and thanks for tuning in again. Today I'm here with Virginia Lemos from Tempo Collaborative Business Services. So thanks for joining us
Thank
first and
you for
foremost.
having me.
So I guess we'll just jump right into it. So
Absolutely.
let's start. Tell me more about your business.
Yes, so Tempo Collaborative Business Services, it's a consulting service for small business owners, specifically geared towards immigrant and first generation small business owners in the United States. So the goal is really to provide the resources, support, and guidance that's targeted to meet this population's specific needs in navigating business development in a country that they're not really familiar
Of
with,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I meet with them one-on-one guidance and discuss things like growth strategy, planning, things like operations management. How can you sustain growth within your business
Right.
given the context within you're in?
How did you like kind of think of that? Where did you see that lack? Did you have experience yourself with that lack or around you?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting story. I'm actually a clinical psychologist. My specialization is in health psychology and working with population health in primary care and medical settings.
Mhm.
So I did that for about 6, 7 years, doing psychotherapy, mental health support services, community mental health. And then during COVID, took a step back. I was working in a hospital setting. I was like, you know what, this is a lot right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started a business. I was working with a friend at the time. This was a few years ago now. And we were in the process of launching a technology platform for online orderings for small businesses, for restaurants
Yeah.
specifically, understanding that these types of services, right, the online ordering platforms are really expensive for
Right.
small business owners, or they cut into their profit
Mhm.
margins significantly.
Yeah.
So we were trying to create something new. And that's how I got into entrepreneurship. And, long story short, that project we went through like venture capitalism, which is also its own ball game.
Mhm.
But that project was placed on the back burner for a spell, and I had really fallen in love with entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I'm Brazilian myself.
Mhm.
I grew up with lots of entrepreneurs in my family, had always thought, this is not for me. And then I found out, yeah, actually this is for
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
And then that led me to a different role. I started working as a programs manager for a small nonprofit organization called Accelerate Women. This was in Portland, Oregon. And I managed day-to-day operations for the programs and services provided by the nonprofit that was geared for support and resources for women small business owners.
Mhm.
And so from there, I got that experience of, entrepreneurship through racial equity and a gender equity lens, and really fell more in love with entrepreneurship. So when the time came when that contract was over, I had to make the decision, do I stay here in Portland, Oregon, or do I head back to Massachusetts? And I decided to come back to bring that wealth of knowledge and expertise and experience to the immigrant
Yeah.
community in Massachusetts. There are approximately 1.9 million, not billion, Brazilian immigrants in the United States, and about 25% of them are entrepreneurs.
Wow.
And so it's a really big number. And
Yeah.
this population is concentrated largely in Massachusetts, New York, and Florida.
Huh.
And so in Massachusetts, we have a lot of
Yeah.
Brazilian
Yep.
business owners. And so I work primarily with them offering services in their native language,
Wow.
which is, it's really a pillar in accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Of course.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Um, so that's your experience, or do you have any more experience that you want to share personally? Stories about working with immigrants or business
Oh my
owners?
gosh, they are just immigrant business owners are the most tenacious business owners that I have ever encountered. Think about all the challenge. You're a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a business, it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's a challenging experience. Now add the language barriers to that, right? You're navigating developing a business and growing a business in a country that you're not familiar with in terms of the bureaucracies, right? Of permits and licensure and tax
Right.
and accounting and bookkeeping and all of these systems that you have to figure out in a language that isn't your primary
Right.
language. And so that to me is astounding because you see a lot of these people opening businesses and doing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hit a limit, right?
Yeah.
Because they're really great at launching. they're really great at establishing, but they struggle to figure out how to grow.
Right.
Oftentimes the first 2 to 3 years is that trial and error period. You fake it till you make it. You make all the mistakes, which is normal.
Mhm.
It's a part of entrepreneurship.
Right.
It's part of the entrepreneurial journey. If you think agile business development, it's all trial and error. It's
Right.
all about how you learn from the experience. And so, um, I found that they are very tenacious. They have a lot of grit and they're like, I'm going to do this. And then they get themselves into sticky situations because they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And they struggle to figure out where to go for the knowledge, information, resources, and trustworthy
That's what I was
guidance,
gonna say. Yeah.
because they're also largely victims of like predatory service providers who sell them something that they don't need,
Right.
who tell them they need to do something that they don't need to do.
Mhm.
And it's all because of misinformation and because of lack of access to the resources that they need in order to scale and grow successfully
Right.
without so much error that ends up costing them a lot in the end.
That was exactly my question when you were talking about the language barrier and not knowing where to go. I just the first thing that thought it popped up in my head was the you have to just trust people to tell you
Yeah.
what's right or wrong, where to go, who to use, who not to use. It's
Hmm.
just trust. So how do you build that and how did you build that within your business?
Yeah. Well, it helps that I'm Brazilian myself.
Right.
And I listen intently to what these stories are from these owners, non-judgmentally. I think trust is really about being open to an individual's experience, regardless of what you think it should or shouldn't be,
Hmm.
right? And so I build connection based on that. Again, it helps that we have a cultural connection, that we have language to facilitate that, that people feel welcome to ask their hard questions. I ask the hard questions.
Yeah. Me
I
too.
ask about finances. How are your financials doing? Are
Hmm.
you, fiscally compliant right now? Have you paid your
Right.
taxes? Do you file and report sales taxes?
Hmm.
And that, let me tell you, is usually people start getting
Okay.
flustered. I don't know, we see a lot. I've experienced this. You get letters in the mail and you're like, where the heck did this
Yeah.
come from? I thought that this was all set.
Hmm.
And they go through that a lot. But what I've seen is that they carry a lot of shame
Mm.
and guilt about wanting to do something correctly and just not being able to. So the first thing I do is I listen. I do like a business diagnostics. We run through your how your operations are doing and where you want to be. I guide them through a visioning process. What are your goals for the next 6 to 12 months? Let's keep it realistic, but also dream.
Right. How
So
we can build from, yeah.
exactly. Like it's okay for you to not know what you didn't know.
Yeah.
And it's also your responsibility now to get into the groove of doing what you want to do in compliance, but understanding that that is part of the journey towards realizing your goals.
Right.
And so we make that a really attainable experience for them, and all in the context of a really safe and contained environment where they feel invigorated,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, of course. Do
Mhm.
you have any, like, in a specific example of how you've brought that forward?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you have a few. Hopefully, I have.
yes, absolutely. Like building that trust and
Yeah, and
yeah.
having them go forward and then see their growth.
Yeah, so I have an example of a client that I actually just recently started working with. Um, They are called Hilda's Home. It's a cleaning business established here in Massachusetts for over 20 years. So this is an established
Yeah.
business, right? And I provide like contracted consulting services to immigrant owners through the SBDC in Worcester.
Mhm.
And so they came to me through the SBDC, and she was like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I would love, love, love to be able to step out of operations. I don't want to be doing all the work anymore. I want to be able to hire folks, to be
Mhm.
able to go and do the work and to do more of what I love to do. She does residential and commercial cleaning, and she wanted wanted to move into more of like personal
Yeah.
organizing and
Yep.
DIY, which is very parallel. It goes well
Yeah,
together.
definitely.
And so we sat and had this visioning experience. Her and her daughter, their business is called Hilda's Home. It'll be rebranded in the coming months. But the first order of business is really talking through where are you coming from?
Mhm.
What are your three main challenges right now? And like a lot of us, it's hiring
Yeah.
people, right,
Yep.
for consistent labor, but then also the rebrand that they were going in, how
Uh,
to launch new products and services. And so we laid that out. And just this past week, they came back with the new logo for the business and with new product offerings for
cool.
their
Yeah.
customers. So she'll be offering a spring cleaning package
Yeah.
for existing and new customers that will offer cleaning as well as organizing for certain spaces. So that is one example. Another example that I have is I work with a couple of mechanic shops here in Hudson and in Worcester. But speaking to the one in Hudson specifically, suspension and tires, they also very established. They've been in Hudson for 10 years. Um, and when I started working with them, you can see like how much of the love and labor is there, right? They're doing the things, they're making it work, they're profitable, they survived the pandemic, they're doing really great. And working with service providers that aren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So for
Right.
example, their accountant was hired to do their sales tax reporting and wasn't doing their sales tax reporting. They were behind 8 months
Oh.
on filing and reporting and paying sales taxes. So we had to get that into compliance. We had to get that all set, which it is all set now. But it's just one of those experiences where having an advocate, having somebody who can come in and say, this is actually what's happening right now. You did your part. This has nothing to do with you. Now we have to correct this issue with the sales tax people and so on and so forth. And since then, they've experienced significant growth,
Right.
right? Just by being in compliance, being consistent, and then being able to, get more contracts in
Mhm.
place and not have not be so bogged down by the worries that come with things like that.
Of course.
Mhm.
So you can help people who are entrepreneurs that are just wondering about starting off, who might be new to starting off, but you just said 20 years in business, another
Mhm.
one. So it's really just for all phases of.
My specific area of focus is in growth.
Okay.
So typically, people who have
Taking
launched
that
and
next.
are in the market
Hmm.
and want to take that next step, but
Right.
don't necessarily know how because you have a business to sustain that's already
Hmm.
established, that's already flowing. But you also have a vision for growth. You just don't know how to execute it.
Right.
And so the first step is making sure that what you have in place is well, and it sets the foundation for the growth that you want to take, those next steps for growth that you want to take.
Of course.
Hmm.
Um, so economic and regulatory landscapes can vary significantly between countries and regions. How do you stay informed?
A lot of
Yeah.
self-education, a lot of time researching, then also questions. I ask questions. I'm curious about it. And so the owners that I work with, I ask questions about, what are the differences that you had a business in Brazil or you had a business in a different country? What was that experience like? Now you have a business here. What are the differences that you
Oh yeah,
see?
that's good. Yeah.
And that has honestly been the best way to figure out, what the major differences are in the landscape. And then from there, I do my own research and figure out, oh, this is what's happening and
Right.
why. But really coming at it from a place of curiosity usually does the trick. And then the other thing that I do is I recognize that I don't need to know everything and
Mhm.
I don't know what I don't know, and that's okay. And I collaborate. I partner with other people who do know that I can trust, that I have vetted personally, and I
Course.
can refer my clients to get the questions that they have answered from the right source.
Right, and that alone develops trust because it's okay as a business owner to not have all the answers. There's
Exactly.
someone with more experience and to put that division in better hands. So I'm
Exactly.
sure people can appreciate that a lot.
Exactly. Yes.
Um, how if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and what are you trying to do? Are you trying to take on new clients and keep
Yeah.
going?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
am taking on new clients. I work one-on-one with small business owners. But accessibility is also a key priority for me in my business and how I work. So you can also find me at the MSBDC at
Okay.
Clark through Clark University in Worcester. And I will be here in starting in April in Clinton at the town hall holding some drop-in office hours for
Very
owners in
cool.
this area.
Yeah.
But you can also contact me directly through email and phone number.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for joining
You're
us.
very
And
welcome.
we're happy to have you in Clinton as well.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you.